Hello chums, and welcome to Taming a Monster, the series where I take some of Gran Turismo 7's most ridiculous cars to see if I can tweak them so that a talentless pleb like me can handle them without being killed to death. Like any common ruffian, I'm using a bog-standard PlayStation 5 controller, and I have all driver assists turned off, except for ABS. Let's see what car is trying to murder me today. Last time on Taming a Monster, I drove a Toyota Yaris with a demon engine, and my opening words were, "Who the f*** thought this was a good idea?" Well, compared to this, it's downright genius. This is potentially the most idiotic engine swap in the entire game, and I am here for it. As usual, all upgrades have been fitted, including power upgrades, weight reduction, wide body, and the body rigidity increase. None of the settings have yet been touched, except for downforce, which is maxed, and the transmission, which has already been adjusted for this car. I have fitted aftermarket wheels a few sizes up from standard. Increasing the size can improve agility slightly, but it will make the curbs more bouncy, and potentially reduce overall stability. I have fitted a front push bar, which actually adds downforce, somehow. The same goes for the option at the rear. Removing the spare wheel or fitting the beefier spare wheel will indeed add downforce to the back end of the car. They're having a right fucking laugh at polyphony, aren't they? If you're interested in learning more about aero, downforce, or any other aspect of tuning your car, I have a series called Tuning for Beginners which covers everything from suspension to differential to the transmission. As is the case with my more recent monster taming videos, I took the Land Creamer to the Nordschleifer to see how badly the car would perform with no tweaks.
There is no God as long as this thing exists.
I will either look like the dog's bollocks if I can improve on the base lap time, or I'll look like a complete twat if I can't improve the base lap time. First impressions were excellent. It handles brilliantly. If your point of comparison is a lawnmower with a jet engine, it's like driving a giant plate full of jelly. Unfortunately, on my first attempt I tried a slightly different racing line, but then the game wouldn't let me. You can't be seen having too much fun now. Cock. So, I had to restart the lap to give a more fair representation. Unfortunately, I did crash. Just one or two tiny little dings and scrapes, but aside from that, the lap time went swimmingly.
Whoa, shit.
Speaking of swimming, I actually think swimming may have been faster because it took 7 minutes and 15 seconds.
Ow. Bloody hell.
For my first changes, I increased natural frequency and anti-roll bars, which may not help with the stability, but it will reduce body roll and give me a better starting point for further adjustments. I also lowered the front end so the Toyota looks cooler. This won't help the handling or make the truck any faster, but it will give it 1,000 extra horsepower. I then set up a custom race at Deep Forest in order to test my adjustments. The Land Bruiser already felt miles better thanks to the dramatic reduction in body roll, and it left the old truck with more or less the same issues as most other four-wheel drive cars in Gran Turismo. There was some slight understeer when accelerating out of corners, and some oversteer when braking. Beyond that, the handling still felt just generally untidy. Next, I tweaked the rest of the suspension. Increasing compression usually makes the car less bouncy over curves. Decreasing the camber at the rear will slightly improve traction when braking, and it generally makes the car more agile. I also added some rear tail out to reduce general power understeer. Handling was tidier, though the same problems still persisted. Understeer out of corners made the Land Pounder feel like the wheels weren't touching the ground at times, while the oversteer into the corners can certainly catch you out if you're not expecting it. I then adjusted the differential. I set initial torque high at the front, low at the rear, which typically helps with stability on corner entry. I increased acceleration sensitivity at the rear to try and improve understeer. I also increased braking sensitivity at the front to try and reduce braking oversteer. Honestly, I couldn't tell the difference. Usually, what I just said will work as intended, but as often seems to be the case with low downforce cars, it hasn't worked here. I would need to test the car further off camera before I took it to the Nürburgring. And after some more testing, this was my final setup. Front downforce was reduced to add some stability at high speeds, while the LSD settings were also tweaked. Adding some rear initial torque made the biggest difference, while adding more acceleration sensitivity to the rear made the power understeer slightly less offensive. It goes without saying that this car is totally stupid. Kinda fun though. Actually, to be honest, it's more fun on the stock suspension settings. It's almost completely undrivable, obviously, but when I was trying to do a lap of the Nürburgring at the start of this video, I spent most of my time giggling like a twat. With all of my settings applied, the land masher now sort of feels a bit slow. Its agility has been dulled slightly by all the differential changes. It was all necessary to make it controllable, but the overall feel of the Toyota now feels nerfed, and as a result it's not really very entertaining anymore. It's just another LS engine swap, but this one has understeer instead of rampant wheel spin. There's a few cars that are better suited to this engine, like the Nissan 300ZX or the Corvette Group 3 road car, and quite frankly this car works fairly well on its standard engine, if nothing else because of the sound. The FJ40's low-revving straight 6 sounds absolutely guttural once it's upgraded, so I highly recommend giving that a try. In the end, the Land Smasher got a 6 minutes 31, which beats the K24 Jimny, the Maverick F-150, and the Hellcat Willys Jeep. So out of all of the engine-swapped 4x4 utility vehicles, the Rampage FJ is the fastest. So, that was my attempt to tame the engine-swapped Toyota Land Fapper. I hope this video helped. If so, please do like, subscribe, and touch my bell so that you get notified of my future uploads. Take care of yourself, and ta-ra.